Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. And I want to start by asking you, the listener, to just take a second.
Yeah.
Think about how you found the information you used this morning, not physically, but, digitally.
It's a really good question because the process is so different now. I mean, even compared to a year or two ago.
Oh, completely. We aren't scrolling through those 10 blue links anymore.
No, we're trying to guess the exact, the perfect keyword to type into a search bar. That whole world is just gone.
Right. And if you've been paying any attention to the digital landscape over the last, say, 12 months, the ground has just completely shifted. We used to search for links.
We wanted a list of websites, a directory.
Exactly, a list. Now, and I think more importantly, the AI assistants we're all using, we're searching for truth.
Truth is a heavy word for sure. But, in a technical sense, that is exactly what's happening. We've moved from what you could call the information economy,
which was all about indexing documents.
Right. Does this web page exist? That was the only question. Now we're in the verification economy.
And the question is different.
The question is this entity real? Is it reliable? And can I transact with it?
That is the hook. That's what we are unpacking today. The trust economy. And we're not just talking about, how to rank on Google.
Well, that's old news. That's a solved problem in a way.
It feels like it. We're talking about how algorithms decide what's true, how we as humans decide who to trust in this incredibly noisy world. And this is the part that I just can't get my head around.
Which part you mean?
How AI agents are starting to have their own bank accounts, their own passports even.
It sounds like pure science fiction, I know, but the papers we're looking at today, they make it very, very clear. This isn't a theoretical future. This is the infrastructure being built right now as we speak.
So let's lay out the mission for this deep dive. We've got a pretty big stack of reports on the desk here. We've got the 2025-2026 SEO forecast from a group called Mint Position. We also have a very technical deep dive. It's from a firm called Passion Fruit, and it's all about something called entity signals.
And I'll just say, that one is going to force a lot of people to relearn basically everything they thought they knew about marketing.
Yeah, I believe it. We've also got some dense academic research on cross-platform reputation and a fascinating study. This one's from the Chinese social media context on expert credibility.
That's the one that just flips the whole idea of influencers completely on its head.
It really does. And then finally, we're going to break down the white paper for a protocol called Kite AI.
Right. And Kite is the blockchain protocol that's built specifically for these agentic payments. So when your AI needs to actually buy something for you, Kite is probably going to be the rails it runs on.
It's a huge spread. I mean, we're going from marketing to psychology to crypto economics. But I want to start with the machine's point of view. Let's call this section 1, the death of the keyword.
It's a funeral that's been coming for a long, long time, but I think 2025 was the year we finally buried the body.
The Mint Position report makes a pretty bold claim right up top. They say we aren't just typing words into a box anymore.
Right.
And because of that, the search engines have stopped even trying to match strings of text.
Correct. And that's the whole shift to AI overviews and what the industry is now starting to call GEO.
GEO.
Generative Engine Optimization.
I feel like we just got everyone to understand SEO. Now we have to learn GEO.
The acronyms never stop, do they? But the distinction here is it's actually crucial. In the old world, the keyword era, Google was basically a librarian.
Okay.
A librarian matching strings of text. You typed in running shoes, and it would look for pages where that exact string, running shoes, appeared a lot.
And their page is linked to it using those words.
Exactly. It was a proxy, a pretty good one for a while. But it was dumb. It didn't know what a shoe was. It didn't know what running was. It just knew the words.
And now?
Now, with these AI overviews, the generative summaries you see at the very top of the results, the engine isn't looking for words at all. It's looking for entity.
Okay, let's stop right there. Entity. It's one of those words that sounds a bit vague. For someone listening, what is the actual difference between a keyword and an entity? Because to me, Nike is a keyword, but I guess it's also an entity.
It is. They look the same on the surface, but underneath, the data structure is completely different. A keyword is just unstructured text. An entity is a node in what's called a knowledge graph.
Walk us through that, the knowledge graph.
Okay, think of it like a truly massive spider web of concepts. The Passion Fruit report, the one you mentioned, it uses that Nike example. To an old search engine, Nike is just the letters Nike.
A text string.
That's it. But to a modern AI, there is a specific node, a specific concept in this web that is labeled Nike. And that node has edges connections to a bunch of other nodes.
Like what? What's it connected to?
It's connected to organization. That's its type. It's connected to Michael Jordan, who is a person. It's connected to Beaverton, which is a location.
And to shoes.
Right. Shoes, which is a product. It's all built using the structure they call triples. It's subject, predicate, object. So Nike subject is located in predicate Beaverton object.
So the AI isn't guessing anymore.
Right.
It effectively knows these relationships are real.
It understands the semantic meaning. It has context. And here's why that's so critical for anyone who's, trying to be found online. You can't just write the word Nike on your blog post 100 times anymore.
Keyword stuffing is dead.
It's worse than dead. It'll probably get you penalized. You have to provide the technical signals that tell the AI, hey, I am a legitimate, verifiable entity.
This is where we get into the plumbing, right? The report talks about something called schema markup.
Yes. Schema is basically code. It's usually a format called JSON LD that you put on your website. Humans don't see it, but the machines, the crawlers, do.
And it acts like a label.
It's a tag. It says, hey, Google, this string of text here isn't just a name. It is an organization. And this phone number right here, it belongs to that organization. You're spoon-feeding the AI the structure of your reality.
And the Passion Fruit report has a pretty stark warning about this. I'm going to quote it. They say, your brand either exists as a coherent, verifiable entity, or it doesn't. There is no middle ground.
That is, I think, the scariest part for small businesses. You're either in the knowledge graph or, for all intents and purposes, you're invisible to the AI economy.
But isn't that incredibly dangerous for a new company? I mean, if I launch a startup tomorrow, I don't have a node in the knowledge graph. Am I just ghosted? Am I cut out of the economy until the algorithm decides I'm notable enough?
To a large extent, yes.
Yep.
That is the cold start problem of this trust economy. The AI assistant, whether it's Gemini or ChatGPT or something else, it's programmed to be risk averse.
It doesn't want to be wrong.
Exactly. It will not recommend a new product or service if it can't verify that the entity behind it exists and is stable. It's constantly checking for these entity signals that Passion Fruit talks about.
Which brings us to that acronym. We've all heard N-EEAT for years in the SEO world. Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, trustworthiness.
Right.
But the report adds a new letter to the front. N.
N-EEAT. And the N stands for notability.
Notability. That sounds a little bit like a popularity contest.
It is, in a way, but it's a specific kind of popularity. It's about what the report calls the identity layer. Does the machine know you exist consistently across the web?
And this is where most businesses fail, you're saying, the consistency.
It's the number one mistake. The report calls it the consistency layer, and it's so easy to get wrong.
Give me a real world example. How does this go wrong for a local business?
Okay, perfect example. A local pizza place. On their own website, the phone number ends in 5555.
Got it.
But on their Facebook page, which they set up 4 years ago and totally forgot about, the number ends in 5556. It was a typo. And then on the local Chamber of Commerce directory, the address is slightly different. Maybe they forgot to add suite B.
Okay, a human would look at that and figure it out, would say, oh, they probably moved, or that's a typo.
Humans are very good at bridging those gaps. We're forgiving, but algorithms are not. To an AI, those 3 data points are discrepancies. They look like data rot or instability.
It lowers the confidence score.
It tanks it. The AI thinks, I cannot reliably verify the identity layer of this entity. So when a user asks their phone, what's the best pizza place near me? The AI just skips right over it. Not because the pizza is bad, but because the entity signal is weak and inconsistent.
That is just ruthless.
Yeah.
So you could have the absolute best product in the world, but if your digital paperwork is sloppy, you just lose.
You lose. And the evidence layer is the next step up. It's not just about you. It's about who else says you exist. The AI looks for citations, mentions from other trusted nodes in the graph.
So links from universities, mentions in major news sites, listings in verified directories.
It's a web of validation. Exactly.
Now, I want to touch on one other thing from the Mint position report, and it's about traffic. Because for years, we've had this fear of the zero-click future.
Right. The idea that the AI answers the question and no one ever needs to visit your website.
Exactly. But the data they have shows something surprising.
It does. It turns out that for certain types of queries, these AI overviews are actually generating more clicks than the old featured snippets ever did.
Why would that be? I thought the whole point was to keep users on Google's property.
It depends on the complexity of the question. So if you ask, What is the capital of France? That's a classic zero-click query.
You get Paris, and you're done.
You're done. You leave. Mint Position calls these definition articles, and their advice is stark. They say they are dead zones for traffic. Stop writing content that just defines things.
Because the AI can summarize that in a millisecond. It doesn't need you.
It doesn't need you. But if you ask a complex long-tail question, something like, what are the specific tax implications of moving a remote software company from California to Texas?
Oh, that's not a simple answer.
There's no way an AI can give a complete, nuanced answer to that in a single summary. It has to give an overview, but then it has to provide its sources. It has to provide citations for further reading.
And users are actually clicking those citations
At a higher rate than before, because the nature of the query itself implies a need for deep exploration. The user wants to go deeper. So the big takeaway is that the value has shifted away from simple answers and moved towards complex nuance.
So if you want traffic in this new world, you have to be smarter than the summary.
You have to be the source for the summary. You have to provide the depth that the AI can't.
Okay, so that's the machine's view. It's fascinating. The machine wants these consistent entities, structured data, complex relationships, but machines aren't the only ones judging credibility.
Not yet, anyway.
We humans are still in this loop. And we are arguably even more complicated to figure out than the knowledge graph.
By an order of magnitude, yes.
So let's pivot to the human side. We've got this academic research paper on cross-platform reputation generation. And it addresses a problem I have literally every time I try to pick a restaurant.
I think I know where this is going.
I look at Google, and it's 4.5 stars. I look at Yelp, it's 3 stars. I look at TikTok, and it's just a video of someone screaming about how amazing the cheese pull on the pizza is.
Duckles. The all-important cheese pull metric.
Right. So how do we, or how do the systems we rely on, make any sense of that complete mess?
This is the core challenge of what they call data fusion. The paper proposes a system that uses something called ABSA.
ABSA.
Aspect-based sentiment analysis.
Okay, break that down for me. Aspect-based. What does that mean?
So traditional sentiment analysis is kind of a blunt instrument. It scans the review and just says, this text is positive or this text is negative.
It gives you one number, one score.
It flattens the entire experience into a single, often misleading number. But ABSA is granular. It breaks the text of the review down into specific aspects or features.
So it actually separates the food from the service, for example.
Exactly that. Let's take a review that says, the steak was absolutely incredible, probably the best I've ever had, but the waiter was rude and it took an hour just to get seated.
Okay, a mixed bag.
A very mixed bag. A standard system might average that out to a 3-star neutral review.
Which is completely useless information.
It tells you nothing. But ABSA parses it differently. It would output something like aspect food quality score equals +5, aspect service speed score equals medically 5, aspect staff attitude score equals medical 5.
That is so much more useful because if I'm a person who doesn't really care about service, if I'm willing to be treated poorly for a truly great steak, I can look at that and say, okay, this is the place for me.
Precisely. It allows for a personalized, weighted reputation. You can filter by what matters to you. But the paper really highlights the massive, massive difficulty of integrating this across different platforms.
It's a cross-platform problem.
Right. A review on TikTok is structurally fundamentally different from a review on Amazon.
Of course. TikTok is video, it's audio, it's the caption, it's the comments, it's the general hype. Amazon is, usually text from a verified purchase, and it's much more utilitarian.
So the paper gets into the weeds of normalizing these signals. How do you mathematically compare the raw enthusiasm of a TikTok influencer with the dry, detailed criticism of a top reviewer on TripAdvisor?
That sounds incredibly hard.
It's the frontier of reputation technology right now. There's no easy answer.
And speaking of influencers and criticism, that brings us to the second study, the one from the Chinese social media ecosystem. And I have to say, this one shook me a little bit. It challenges the entire logic of the creator economy as we know.
The digital exposure paradox.
Let's unpack this because the standard advice that's been given to any expert, any brand for the last 10 years has been what? Flood the zone.
Be everywhere, post every day, visibility equals trust, content is king.
Right. All of that. But this study looks at the data and says, maybe not so fast.
They analyzed expert credibility in a technical field, and they found a statistical correlation that just completely contradicts that advice. They measured the sheer volume of information an expert posted against the audience's perceived level of trust.
And you'd expect a positive line, right? More posts, more trust.
You would. You'd think familiarity breeds comfort, or at least credibility.
But that's not what they found.
They found a negative correlation, specifically a beta of negative 0.18.
Okay, we need to translate that for the non-statisticians listening.
Yeah.
What does a beta of negative 0.18 actually mean in the real world?
It describes an inverse relationship. It means that for every significant increase in the amount of content an expert was pushing out, the audience's trust didn't just flatten, it actively dropped by nearly 20%.
That's a huge drop. So by posting more, you are actively damaging your reputation. Why? What's the psychology there? Is it just that people get annoyed?
It's not just simple annoyance. The researchers point to two main factors. The first is information overload, which is what you expect. But the second one is more important. Information contradiction.
Contradiction.
Think about it. If you're an expert posting 3 times a day about a complex topic like, say, AI or finance, it's inevitable. Sooner or later, you're going to contradict yourself.
Or you'll hype up some new tool that turns out to be a total dud the next week.
Exactly. Or you'll just dilute your core valuable signal with a lot of low-quality noise just to meet a quota. You start to look less like a thoughtful expert and more like a content.
So social media algorithm rewards your volume. It gets you more views.
But human psychology punishes it. It costs you trust. That's the paradox.
So if volume is actually a negative signal, what builds trust? What did the study find was the strongest positive signal?
The single strongest predictor of trust was integrity, with a positive beta of 0.27.
Okay, but integrity is a fuzzy concept. How do you even measure that in a quantitative study like this?
One of the key operational factors they used to measure it was something they called two-sided information.
Two-sided?
It means presenting the pros and the cons. The experts who openly admitted the limitations of a technology or who talked about the risks of a particular strategy were trusted significantly more than the ones who only sold the benefit.
So that makes perfect intuitive sense. If someone tells me AI is going to solve all my problems with no downsides, I immediately think they're a salesperson.
Of course.
But if they tell me AI is incredibly powerful, but you need to be aware of these 3 specific data privacy risks, I suddenly see them as a credible expert.
It's authenticity. It beats volume every time. And here's the other kicker from that study. Source matters a lot. Institutional sources, so universities, government bodies, respected research firms, they raise trust level.
And what about user-generated content?
In the context of complex technical advice, user-generated content, so influencers, bloggers, YouTubers, it actually lowered trust.
Wow. So we are seeing a swing back towards institutions. After a decade of hearing death to the gatekeepers, people are actually looking for the gatekeepers again.
It seems so. In the trust economy, when the stakes are high, we're talking about your health, your finances, your career. People are getting tired of the influencer noise. They want verified institutional backing.
So the takeaway is less is more. As long as the less is high quality, it's unbiased, and it's ideally backed by some kind of real credential.
It sounds almost old-fashioned, doesn't it? But the data says that's where the trust is migrating.
Okay, this is fascinating. We've covered the machine's view. It wants these clean, consistent entities. We've covered the human view. We crave integrity over volume. Now, I want to get to the third leg of this stool, and this is where we really leave the present day and step into the very, very near future.
This is the Kite AI white paper.
We're moving from the information age into what you could call the agentic age. We're not just using AI to search for things or to write our emails anymore. We are entering a world where AI agents need to do things in the real world. Specifically, they need to buy things.
And that requires a totally new economic infrastructure. You can't just give your ChatGPT your credit card number. It doesn't work.
I have to ask, why not? I mean, I trust it to write my company's marketing copy. Why shouldn't I just give it my Amex and tell it to book my flights?
Well, it comes down to the black box problem and the fundamental nature of security. If you give a bot your credit card number, you are effectively giving it the private key to your entire financial life.
Okay.
If that bot gets hacked, or if it just hallucinates, which we know these large language models absolutely do, it could decide on a whim to buy 5,000 high-end servers in Iceland.
And I'd be completely bankrupt before I even woke up in the morning.
Exactly. The traditional banking rails, Visa, MasterCard, they were not built for autonomous software agents. Kite AI is a blockchain protocol that is being built specifically for these agentic payments.
So how does it solve that rogue bot problem? How does it keep the AI on a leash?
It starts with a completely new way of handling identity. They use this 3-layer model that very carefully separates you, the human, from the action the bot is taking.
Okay, walk us through those 3 layers. Let's use a scenario. Let's say I want my AI agent to book a whole concert trip for me. Tickets, flight, hotel.
Perfect. So layer 1 is the user root. That's you. You hold the master key. And that key lives in what's called a secure enclave. Think of it like a hardware wallet or the secure chip that's already in your iPhone. That key never, ever leaves your physical possession.
Got it. That's the nuclear football. I never give it to anyone.
Never. Now, layer 2 is the agent. This is the specific bot you're using. Let's call it a travel agent app. You use your master key to generate a delegated address for this specific agent. The system knows this address is cryptographically derived from you. The merchant knows it's linked to a real person. But the agent itself does not have your master key.
So it's like giving an employee a company credit card with a specific spending limit, rather than just giving them the login to the main corporate bank vault.
That's a perfect analogy, but it gets even more granular, which is the really cool part. Layer 3 is the session.
The session.
Right. So you tell your agent, buy me tickets to the show, flight, and hotel. My total budget is $2,000, and you have to get it done within the next 30 minutes.
Okay, a specific task with a deadline.
The system then generates a session key for that one task. It's ephemeral.
Meaning it's temporary.
Meaning it literally self-destructs. That key is only valid for that specific task in that specific time frame. Once the transaction is completed or once those 30 minutes are up, the key dissolves. It's useless.
That is incredibly smart. So even if a hacker were to intercept that session key 5 minutes after the booking is made, it's just digital dust. It can't be used again for anything.
Precisely. It creates what security experts call defense in depth. But the real magic of this system isn't just the security, it's the programmable governance.
This is what the white paper calls standing intent.
Right. And this is like programmable money on steroids. In a normal transaction, you just send money from A to B. In a Kite transaction, you wrap the money in logic, in rules.
Give me a concrete example. What does that look like in practice, not just in the code?
Okay, let's say you're a developer and you have an AI agent that needs to buy access to premium news APIs to get data. You don't just hand the agent a pot of $50. No. You cryptographically sign a rule, a standing intent, that says something like this. This agent is authorized to spend up to $0.50 per article, up to a total daily limit of $50 BUT. And this is the kicker. It can only transact with API providers who have a verified reputation score above 90%.
So I am embedding my own values, my own rules directly into the transaction itself.
You're embedding your risk tolerance. The money itself has the rules baked into it. So if your agent finds a super cheap article from some shady brand new source with a reputation score of 40%, the transaction will simply fail.
Not because the agent decided against it, but because the money literally won't move.
The smart contract on the blockchain will block it. The agent has no choice.
That changes everything. It means I can delegate. I can let an army of these little agents run parts of my life, ordering groceries, paying my bills, managing my subscriptions, without having to constantly monitor them because I've already defined their boundaries mathematically.
That is the promise of the agentic economy. But there is a huge economic hurdle to making this vision a reality. Fees.
Gas fees on the blockchain.
Exactly. If an AI is, say, negotiating the price of a flight or buying data packet by packet from an API, that could involve thousands of tiny back and forth interactions.
Right.
On a normal blockchain like Ethereum, paying the gas fee for every single one of those messages would cost far more than the data itself.
You'd pay $5 in fees to buy a 10-cent data packet. The economics just don't work at all.
So Kite uses a technology called state channels.
We talked about this in prep. I love the analogy you use, the bar tab.
It really is the best way to get your head around it. Imagine you walk into a bar, you go up to the bartender and you hand him your credit card. That first action is opening the channel. The blockchain sees this and locks a certain amount of your funds in escrow.
Okay, so the bartender knows I'm good for it. I'm verified.
You order a drink. The bartender just writes it down on a notepad. You order another one. You buy a round for your friends. All of these are what we call off-chain transactions. You and the bartender are just exchanging cryptographically signed messages, a little IOUs essentially, but nothing is hitting the main blockchain yet.
Which means there are no fees for those individual drinks.
0 fees. And it's instant speed. An AI could order 5,000 drinks or data packets in a single second. Then at the end of the night, you tell the bartender you're leaving. You close the channel.
Time.
Right. The bartender takes the final tally from his notepad. Okay, 50 drinks, total is $500, and sends that one single number to the blockchain for settlement.
So you only pay the network transaction fee once at the very end for the final sum.
Exactly. And this is what enables what they call streaming payments. An AI could pay something like 0.0000001 per message to access a high-quality API. It completely changes the business model of the internet.
Instead of monthly subscriptions where I pay $20 whether I use a service or not.
You pay for exactly what you consume, down to the millisecond or the data packet.
That's incredible. But I have to play the skeptic for a second. In your bar tab analogy, the system works because the bartender trusts me. He has my credit card in his hand.
Right.
In an anonymous digital network, what keeps everyone honest? What stops the AI agent or the node validator running the network from just padding the bill at the end of the night?
A mechanism that is very appropriately called slashing.
Slashing. It sounds violent.
It is a form of economic violence, yes. In the Kite ecosystem, the validators, those are the computers that run the network and also the developers of the AI modules, they have to stake their own tokens. They have to put up a big pile of their own money that sits in escrow.
Collateral.
A lot of collateral. If they are caught trying to verify a fraudulent transaction, or if an agent they built goes rogue and violates the protocol rules, the network automatically detects it and their entire stake is slashed.
Meaning it's burnt. It's just destroyed.
Vaporized. It's a form of verifiable economic deterrence. The system is designed so that it always costs you more to cheat than you could possibly gain from the theft.
So the trust in the system isn't based on good vibes or a brand's reputation. It's based on cold, hard, mutual assured economic destruction.
That is the fundamental basis of crypto economic trust, yes.
This is a lot to take in. I mean, we've gone from SEO entities that define who even exists to human reputation paradoxes, where being quiet is better than being noisy, and now to autonomous AI agents with these, burning bank accounts. Is there a unifying theory here? How do we connect all these dots?
I think we can. I think we can tie this all together with a concept from that Northeastern University paper on the network science of AI. They talk about something called the generalization identification trade-off.
Okay, that sounds pretty academic. Can you break that down for us?
It's a fundamental limit of any intelligent system. It doesn't matter if it's a human brain or a deep neural network. The system has to constantly balance two competing goals.
What are they?
First is generalizing. That's the ability to know that a cat is similar to a dog, that they are both four-legged mammals.
It's categorization, seeing the bigger pattern.
Exactly. But the second goal, which is just as important, is identification. That's the ability to know that this specific cat is Fluffy, my pet, and that it is distinct from all other cats in the entire universe.
So specificity versus the big picture.
And the research shows that as any system gets better at one of those, it tends to get worse at the other. If you're too good at generalizing, you lose all the important nuance. If you're too good at identifying specifics, you can't apply your knowledge to new situations.
Okay, I see the trade-off. So how does that apply to everything we've talked about today?
Well, it mirrors the exact challenges we've been discussing. SEO, or GEO now, is trying to solve the identification problem. Is this word Nike referring to the shoe brand, or is it referring to the Greek goddess of victory?
It needs to identify the specific entity,
while also generalizing what the user's intent is when they just type shoes. And what about Kite AI?
I see. Kite AI is trying to identify the specific agent, this unique bot with this unique budget.
While at the same time generalizing the trust rules, like that 90% reputation score, across a massive global network of millions of different merchants and APIs.
So the entire trust economy is really about building systems that can solve this trade-off. It's about building systems that have a very high semantic resolution that can actually tell the difference between expert advice and a sales pitch, or between an authorized agent and a rogue bot.
Exactly. The ultimate limit of how smart and how autonomous these systems can get is determined by how well they can resolve those subtle semantic differences.
So let's bring it all home. What does this really mean for the person listening right now? We're clearly not just looking at slightly better chatbots in the future.
No, not at all. We're looking at a completely new structured ecosystem. If you are a brand or a professional or really anyone trying to build something online, you have to realize the game has totally changed. You must become a verifiable entity.
You have to build out those signals, the N-EEAT factors we talked about. Get your digital house in order.
And you need to worry more about your integrity score, not just your view count. Because humans, and now the algorithms that serve them, are actively starting to penalize noise and reward authenticity.
And finally, you need to prepare for agentic economics. You might not be paying a bot to do your work today, but in a few years, your personal AI might be the thing that's negotiating your mortgage rate or buying your groceries.
And it will be doing that using a reputation score that effectively defines your entire digital existence.
And that actually brings me to the provocative thought I want to leave everyone with today. We talked about Kite AI giving these agents their own reputation scores. And we talked about how you, the human user, are cryptographically bound to your agent.
I see exactly where you're going with this.
Think about it. If your AI agent acts poorly, if it spams a merchant, or if it tries to aggressively lowball a negotiation and gets flagged, or if it fails to settle a bar tab and gets slashed, does that AI's bad behavior start to define your reputation?
That is a genuinely terrifying thought. In a Kite AI world, your bot isn't just a tool, it's a true extension of your wallet and your identity. It's your digital tool.
So if your bot develops a bad credit score,
you might find that you get declined for a real-world loan. Your bot's reputation becomes your reputation.
We all used to worry about our browsing history being exposed. Now we're going to have to worry about our agent's negotiation history.
The digital twin is becoming real, and it has your credit card. That's a level of responsibility and oversight that I think we haven't really had to deal with before.
It is a brave new world, for sure. On that slightly terrifying note, we are going to wrap up this deep dive.
The thing to remember is this. In the age of AI, clarity and your integrity is really your only currency.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.